Welcome back in to your regularly scheduled program. I had to take a break. We got Carmela up and Adam. Gonna be tossing her ball back and forth with her. This is an actual tennis ball, so it bounces pretty nice for her. Um, Yikes. Sliding all over the place. Um, our next story, the NFL. Um, a lot of stuff happened in the first week of the NFL. Major takeaways. Obviously, number one thing is the Aaron Rodgers injuries. Achilles injury. At the time, I thought he had just broken his ankle, and which is obviously a much less severe injury than actually the torn Achilles. But he's most likely going to be out for the majority of the season. There is a chance that he does come back. But with that being said, we can look into some of these stories. I mean, uh, absolutely devastating. I think he played 4 snaps before before his injury, and it was just. I mean, the Jets were able to win the game. It was a fantastic overtime win by the Jets. A punt return kickoff for a touchdown. Josh Allen was absolutely atrocious for the majority of the game. I don't know whether it was particularly the Jets defense was really that good, or if he was just playing that bad. But according to Kurt Warner during the radio broadcast of the game, he was just making bad reads. So I'm going to trust Kurt Warner's eyes, not my own, and say that I think that I don't know what was going on. He was just making these weird decisions where he would try and throw it into the end zone with 2 guys on Stephon Diggs. Maybe those work out later in the season, but on Monday night, that was not the case. But anyways, they are saying it is a season-ending injury. But let's see what Robert Saleh has to say. Does this mean retirement? Because he's going to be 40, or he is 40 currently. But we'll see. I haven't gone down that road I'd be shocked if this is the way he's going to go out, Saleh said Wednesday. But at the same time, for him, he's working through a whole lot of headspace thing that he needs to deal with, and that will be the last thing I talk to him about. Rodgers signed a revised contract in New York this offseason that runs through the 2025 season and suggested multiple times he planned on playing for the Jets for more than 1 year. It's possible, however, that the Achilles injury could change those decisions. Regardless of how the future unfolds, Saleh hopes Rodgers will remain around the club to help mentor Zach Wilson and others. Of course, of course. I think it's very important. I think it's important for him, mental health and healing. I think that's very important. But his presence, his words, like I said, he's just as much a football coach as he is a player. And just having his presence, his thoughts, his words, and his leadership, I think anyone would want that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the pressure now is going to be on Zach Wilson now. And unfortunately, as we've seen throughout his career, I'm not sure if he can handle the pressure. I wish him nothing but the best. I obviously hope he doesn't get injured or he plays poorly or anything like that. But I just feel as though with Rodgers out most likely the rest of the season, Zach Wilson taking over the team, I feel as though I have to revise my pick. I mean, I said last week I don't think they're going to be that great, but now I'm thinking they might even be worse. I don't think they can get to 10 wins. I think they could get to 9 wins though. I still think they could be a winning team because that defense is elite defense. And also their running game is not bad as well. But we'll kind of look out to see some other things. Chris Jones, obviously back on the team. He did sign his deal, which is good for himself. I am really, really excited to see him back on the thing. All right, highlight players of the week. Let's see. Obviously, the Giants game was not the best. Good to see former Bears running back Tariq Cohen planning to sign with the Panthers practice squad. It's really good for him because he's been injured for a very, very long time. But kind of getting more into the effects of the Aaron Rodgers injuries. It will impact not just this season, but the 2024 draft order. The Green Bay Packers, who traded Rodgers to the Jets in April, will receive a second-round draft pick as part of the deal now that Rodgers is set to miss the final 16 games of the season. The stipulations of the trade require that Rodgers play 65% of the Jets' offensive snaps this season for Green Bay to receive a 2024 first-round pick. Also, in the Rodgers trade, the Packers and Jets swapped first-round picks in the 2023 NFL Draft, with Green Bay also sending a 2023 fifth-rounder in the deal and Jets sending back second and sixth-rounders in 2023. Rodgers suffered the ruptured Achilles on the Jets' fourth play from scrimmage Monday night against the Bills. Just an awful thing. Now, let's do a little recap of the weekend's games. The best performance and probably the most fun game to watch. Surprisingly, I was very surprised. One by the Rams. I thought the Rams really put together a good performance, and the Seahawks just kind of struggled very badly. I was like, huh? What's going on here? If I were to choose a best game of the week, I probably would say the Dolphins versus the Chargers. I mean, Tyreek Hill, 215 receiving yards. He's looking like he may or may not. I'm not going to say he's the best wide receiver. I'll reserve that for Justin Jefferson. But he might have the best wide receiver season. Similar to what Justin Jefferson did last year. I mean, Justin Jefferson very close to winning MVP a la Michael Thomas a couple years ago. But some standout performances, particularly from teams. Jags, I thought that they played fairly well offensively. Not a lot of line issues like you would have thought. I mean, let's see. Let's see if we got any. Yeah, sacks. Yeah, they got sacked only twice, with Trevor Lawrence throwing 32 times. He did have one fumble, which is not ideal, but he's still 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 241 yards. You'll take that from Trevor Lawrence. And then Anthony Richardson, I mean, we expected him to be great on his feet, and he was. But it just comes down to the defense of the Colts. I mean, the secondary didn't look super great, right? Like in pass coverage, and it's not as though the Jags have elite weapons. They do have Calvin Ridley, obviously, that they brought over, who's finally playing again, but you kind of can see where this team's strength is, and it's diverse group of receivers. Evan Ingram got there, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 49 yards. You'll take that from your tight end. I thought that they played fairly good, and I think the Jags could be good. There was many different plays by Trevor Lawrence where he threw the ball into a tight window. It was absolutely magical. Another game, obviously here in Pittsburgh. The 49ers absolutely manhandled the Steelers. I expected the 49ers to win, but I did not expect them to win like that. That was an absolute beatdown. And that was both offensively and defensively. These teams were completely mismatched. And now you have injuries on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cam Hayward, groin injury. He's going to be out and miss some time. So expect that defense to be even worse at stopping the run. Christian McCaffrey, you can see right here, 152 yards rushing. Not ideal. Not ideal. Other games, The Chiefs versus the Lions, I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, it was the first game of the season. Mahomes didn't play particularly well. I thought he looked a kind of rusty. His wide receivers weren't helping him at all. I mean, you see that pick six that he threw was just absolutely devastating. Devastating. Um, but as we go further into the season, I'm not too worried about this team, particularly because they're getting Chris Jones back. They're gonna get a healthy Travis Kelce. And I think the rest of the season they're gonna be a-okay. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be cooking. I don't expect for the Lions to, if they were to replay the Chiefs, say in week 15, 16, 17, I wouldn't expect them to be able to win that game, right? And you look at time in possession. One thing was just mostly the costly turnovers for the Chiefs. There were so many videos of those receivers dropping passes that seemed to be easy catches, and frankly, I thought that it was just rust, and maybe they are riding high after winning multiple World Series, but we'll see. So let's look at our season leaders. Uh, uh Passer rating, Jordan Love. Interesting little look right there. You would expect that I thought he played a pretty great performance. Yeah, he was helped out by Aaron Jones, but Aaron Jones, we will look to see if he is going to be healthy for the remainder of his game. So that will have fantasy implications, and maybe that will put more focus on Jordan Love to try and um, have a better overall performance. But obviously, the big quarterback after the first week, I would say, is probably Tua. Um, Another good one would be Trevor Lawrence, even though the numbers don't back it up. I thought he was very, very well uh poised in the pocket, and I thought he performed great. And like I said earlier, he does have some weapons around him. So I think that the Jags, despite what I said in the preseason, I think they could be a real factor in their own division, which would have implications for the my pick for the Titans going. I mean, the Titans just looked awful. Unfortunately, I was probably wrong about that. But another one that I thought was interesting was Justin Fields. In terms of quarterback as a runner, he's probably number one in the league. I'll put him up against anybody at this point. He's probably the best outside of the pocket rusher, particularly right now. I don't think he's developed his pass game to where it can be a threat outside of the pocket. He made a couple of interesting plays. I mean, at inopportune times, that fumble towards the end of the game when they were within a couple of scores, they were in striking distance from the team. It was just inopportune timing, and he's just got to hold on to the football. Simple as that. Desmond Ridder also looks to be the guy in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's formula is throw the ball 15, 20 times and run the rest of the time. Let's control the clock and let's get into it. All right. And then game winning drives. Yep. Comebacks. Let's go to the rushers. I thought the probably the best was maybe Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's so dynamic. He can catch the ball. He can run you over. He can stiff arm you. He can be a power back, but he can also be a speed back and extremely elusive. He may or may not be still the best running back in the NFL. It's really hard to say. I tend to lean more towards somebody such as a Nick Chubb just because I typically prefer, or I have a bias towards those power running backs where they're very hard to tackle. But with that being said, it's hard to make a case against Christian McCaffrey at this point throughout the season. Obviously, one game, but we'll say for week one he's the running back MVP, and then wide receiver, don't even have to say anybody else. It's Tyreek Hill. That one's very, very easy to point out. And then defensively, I mean, we're probably gonna have to say Jordan Whitehead. I mean, he was phenomenal. Another one would possibly be if you look at it, TJ Watt had a amazing game for week one. So he could potentially be up there. Him, Josh Allen as well. Were very, very good, but those are probably the two best there. And then Marshawn Lattimore. Oh, the Saints. I didn't talk about the Saints. Yeah, the Saints were one of those teams where I was on the lookout for them. I was looking around and I was thinking maybe they could be a really good offensive unit. Maybe they could be one of those teams that sneak into the playoffs towards the end of the season. And they showed some real promise. I thought as though that quarterback play in this game was obviously not amazing with Ryan Tannehill throwing 3 interceptions and less than 200 yards on 34 passes, which is very not good. And meanwhile, Derek Carr, 305 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but 4 sacks as well. Not good there. So they need to help keep that pressure on that offensive line. But I think that if we can get some form of consistency with the defense, I mean, a defense that's going to be able to get you 3 interceptions a game is going to be real good. But you got to turn those turnovers into points, unfortunately. But I am feeling confident about the Saints. I am feeling like they could potentially be a unit for the remainder of the year that could surprise some people. So keep an eye on them. All right. Let's do some picks. Let's go into week 2. Let's see what we got. Let's check the schedule. Week 2 preview. All right. Starting with Vikings, Eagles. I believe this is an Eagles home game. That is... Yes, Eagles are at home for this game. Eagles are going to be favored by 7. Interesting. I thought Kirk Cousins was good in their first game. They lost Dalvin Cook, so obviously that run game is not going to be as dynamic as it once was. So they may be kind of more easy to predict. And then on the other side, Jalen Hurts gave up a pretty bad turnover in the game against the Patriots, almost brought them back into the game. Definitely something to look out on that side is just that ball security. If you are going to run it, you better make sure that you hold on to the ball. But as it stands right now, some injuries that are questionable for the Vikings, and there will be maybe some people out for the Eagles, which is not good as well. But in terms of a flat out win, I think the Eagles go up 2-0. I do think it's a close game, though. I don't know about the Eagles -7. I think if we're gonna go with the odds, I would take the Vikings here. I would take them at +7. But to overall win the game, I think it will be an Eagles. But I think it'll still be close. Packers, Falcons. Give me the Falcons here. I know, obviously, their offensive game is not ideal, but they were able to look at this point differential a 14-point differential. Obviously, with Green Bay, you see something else, but who did Green Bay play, right? That's also part of the factor. Atlanta, I feel like they're just going to be able to control the clock very, very well. I think they're probably going to be in the top 3 or 4 in terms of rushing yards per game for a team, and I think that that's their path to victory. I think Desmond Ridder is the real deal. I think as long as they keep him to under 25 passes a game, he could be very, very good. A lot of screens, a lot of short passes for him, get him really, really comfortable in this offense. Some things to look out. There are some potentials for the Packers. Keep an eye out on the status of Aaron Jones. If he's not ready to go, it will be AJ Dillon as the running back, who's not a bad second option. New London, Connecticut resident. Well, not currently, but in the past. Hoping to see some form of real good performance by Jordan Love before I start buying in. I mean, 3 touchdowns is amazing. But I want to see a couple more weeks of Jordan Love. Obviously, having multiple years to sit on the bench behind Aaron Rodgers has definitely helped him out a lot in his development. But we will see in the game on Sunday. I am going to pick the Falcons in this game. I just think that the Packers, they will just get they won't be able to keep the time on the ball. And I think that although their defense is pretty stacked, I feel as though that the Falcons are just going to be able to run all over them. So I'm going to take the Falcons +2 to outright win the game. So there's a little bit of an upset. All right, Raiders at Bills. After watching the previous game, Bills are favored by 10, which is pretty crazy. Over under 47. I do worry about Josh Allen. He throws the ball so much, so he has the potential to have these monster games, but he also has the potential to have major lapses in judgment, which I mentioned earlier. However, on the other side, Jimmy Garoppolo, I thought he was all right. I didn't hate what I saw, but I feel as though he could have a better performance in the upcoming week. But we will wait and see kind of on him to see where he's at in the following week. Did have a injury to their wide receiver, so be on the lookout for that. And I would also like to point out that Josh Jacobs not as good as I would have expected. In terms of the run game, I would have expected him to have at least 75 yards. I mean, 19 rushes for Jacobs in less than 50 yards is not something that you want to see. So looking for a little bit of improvement on that end, but I am going to take the Bills. -10 is a lot of points, but I would lean on the side of I think the Bills could do that. I don't really think that the first game of the Raiders is indicative of where they're going to be for the remainder of the season. Although it was a close win, yes. I felt like they played better than what you would expect for them the remainder of the season, and I think the complete opposite for the Bills. They played horrible on Monday night, and I think they'll play better the remainder of the season. I mean, if you get embarrassed like that, you're going to keep practicing. You're going to work your ass off so that does not happen again. So I'm going to take the Bills here. I feel comfortable with -10. Baltimore, Cincinnati. I'm going to take Baltimore here. And this is partly due to the Bengals really struggling in that first game. I mean, Joe Burrow, 14 to 31, 82 yards. Just an awful performance. And I feel like Lamar Jackson can have another season in which he gets us a share of the MVP vote. I would not hate to see that for him. But we will be looking to see what the running game outside of Lamar Jackson is, what kind of is always a worry for me. But you are looking at Marlon Humphrey being out. You do have a couple of good players. Mark Andrews, another player to look at as well in terms of being ready for the game. These are all September 8th, so make sure that you stay up to date on all of these injuries. But yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens here. I think the Ravens are going to be able to pull out a close win in this game. I don't think it'll be a convincing win. I think it will be one of those that come down to the final drive or two in the game. I think it'll be close. Maybe 20-23 a game, something like that. Moving on, Giants versus Cardinals. I will take the Giants here. I think this will be an easy win for them. After getting kind of embarrassed the previous week, I think the Giants are looking to make a statement. And unfortunately, the Cardinals are going to be the team that they make that statement against. I would not be surprised if Daniel Jones throws for 300 yards, rushes for 25, 30, 40 yards on the ground, and makes a couple of nice plays, a couple of highlight plays. But it is still to be seen. I just feel bad for Arizona. I mean, in their first game, it did not look pretty defensively. I worry about them for the remainder of the season. Jets at the Dallas Cowboys. All right, now knowing that the updated lineup of the Jets is so, I'm going to pick the Cowboys here. I thought the Cowboys defense was phenomenal in their first game. They were absolutely in terms of pass rushing, one of the best teams in the league, and frankly, one of the best defensive performances I've seen in quite some time. Now, the main thing to worry about in this game is offensively for the Jets. Is Zach Wilson going to be able to consistently move the ball down the field? And if he gets pressure, is he going to be able to make plays on the run? Or is he going to try and force the ball into tight windows and get himself into trouble via turnovers? But I'll take the Cowboys -10. All right, Washington versus Denver. I thought Washington didn't perform terrible. I thought they were all right. They did win a close game against the Cardinals, but still I feel as though that they could be something this year. Sam Howell doesn't look like he's the worst quarterback in that division, which is a good thing. But I will take the Broncos in this game right here. Not super impressed with anything that I saw from Russell Wilson, but we will continue to see how he does overall for the remainder of the season. And we will see, hopefully, some former Russ magic. Even though 4 points is, in my opinion, a lot in this game for the Broncos, I still think that the Broncos can cover. Should be interesting to see what that defensive line is able to do against Russell Wilson. See if he's still able to move around like he has in previous years. Seattle versus Detroit. I think Detroit wins this game and they start the year off 2-0. Jared Goff, long term, I don't think he's a good option for this team. Obviously, he's getting up there in age. I mean, in terms of NFL quarterback, but I will be interested to see if Geno Smith can bounce back in this game. Look to see if maybe DK Metcalf can potentially get more targets in this game, but the running game for the Seahawks, not worried about. It's just the passing game. I mean, obviously, Geno Smith has not been the greatest the greatest quarterback in recent years, even though last year he had a fantastic year. I just worry about week to week the consistency with him, and this Lions defense, particularly their pass rush, is second to none. So in this game, Lions 6, I think they could do that. I think they could potentially win by a touchdown in this game. Colts versus Texans. Colts favored by 1. I would actually take the Texans here. I think the Texans could win this game. I really was surprised by CJ Stroud. I thought he had a lot of ups and downs. You could tell that he was maybe not operating at his best in that first game, but be that as it may, I thought that he still played pretty well, even though the team around him is not not the most talented, but I still think that he has a bright future. And now, unless there's if Anthony Richardson is able to score a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown, I think that's going to be hard for the Texans to beat. I think this is going to be a very low scoring game. I would be probably taking the under in this game, unless there is a special teams and defensive touchdown in this game. I really do not see a big scoring output from this game. Like I said, I think it might be like a 17-14 game, unfortunately, but I do have the Texans taking this game, and I think they will be victorious. Kansas City, Jacksonville. Interesting game. Chiefs favored by 3. Obviously another game where Patrick Mahomes has to kind of prove to the league that he is who he say he is. Which I ultimately think he will be able to do. So I'm not too worried about this matchup. The Jags, I will be looking to see how Trevor Lawrence is able to do, what Chris Jones can do in this game, and also be watching out to see how Travis Kelce is probably, he's most likely going to play in the game, but I'll keep my eyes open to see kind of how he does. And then defensively for the Chiefs, I just need a couple more turnovers. I need something from that secondary. Just give me something. Now, Miami to New England, I think this is going to be a bloodbath for the Dolphins. The Patriots kept it real close with the Eagles. Kept it real close. That defense is no joke. Mac Jones, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not bad either. But however, I do not think he's going to be able to do that against the Dolphins. They have some legit players on that defense. Their defensive line is amazing, and they have some real quality linebackers, but particularly corners. Their corners are second to none. Give me the Dolphins at -2. I think this is an easy win for them. Chargers at Titans. I'm going to take the Chargers. Little surprised at how they performed in their first game. I thought Justin Herbert would have a good season this year, and I think maybe this is the first game where he starts hitting his stride. I hope for his sake that he's able to really start to work well for the Chargers' sake. Defensively, a little worried about the Charger. I mean, giving up 36 in a game. It was a shootout type of game, but hoping for a little bit in terms of what they can do on defense. They are +2 in the takeaway differential, which is always good as a team compared to the Titans at -1. So yeah, I think that the Titans, unfortunately, with my preseason pick, after watching them for one game, I think I'm wrong. I definitely think I was wrong in my prediction for the Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry, yeah, good. DeAndre Hopkins, pretty average, unfortunately. All right, 49ers at Rams. Oh, -8 for the 49ers. Okay. Maybe. Well, maybe. That's a maybe. Because, and I'm thinking because of travel, that maybe the 49ers really don't perform too well, but I think Brock Purdy is the real deal. I don't see him going anywhere in that team's future. And I just don't think that Matthew Stafford's going to throw for 330 yards in his next game. I just don't see that happening. But definitely some worries potentially for the Rams for the remainder of the season because their schedule gets real tough. Real tough. Chicago at the Bucks. Bucks are -3. Baker Mayfield, I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was bad at all. Their offense was kind of clicking a little bit. Their defense obviously has been their strong point for multitude of years. Even when they had Tom Brady, their best unit was their defense. They're first with +3 takeaways. Always good to have that. I don't feel as though Baker Mayfield's the type of quarterback to turn the ball over a lot. He made smart passes. 21 to 34 is not ideal, but still, if Baker Mayfield can kind of be a little bit more efficient, maybe throw 25 to 29 times, maybe they'll be in better shape. And Justin Fields just got to reduce turnovers. Just got to play smart. I'm fine with the running. I'm fine with the going outside of the pocket. If there's anybody in the league who I trust, it's Justin Fields to be able to make those kind of plays. That's including Patrick Mahomes. I think outside of the pocket and as a runner, there is nobody better in the league than Justin Fields. And that includes Lamar Jackson because Justin Fields is a monster in terms of a size of a player. I mean, he's very hard to tackle, very hard to tackle. So in this game, I will take the Buccaneers. However, -3, I'll take that as well. I just think defensively they'll be able to shut down the Bears. And but I think for the remainder of the season, the Bears will be all right. I don't think that they'll be a below 500 team by the end of the season. Saints, Panthers, give me the Saints here. -3. I like that. Bryce Young, pretty okay in his first start. He kind of sucks for the team. They're just not a great roster. But I have a lot of faith in the Saints, in Derek Carr. I mean, their running game is going to be a pretty strong group for them. So going to take Saints -3 right here, outright win for the Saints. And then Monday night, Browns Steelers, give me the Browns -2. Deshaun Watson, I think he throws for 250 yards here, maybe a touchdown. And then Kenny Pickett, I don't know. He's made some plays where they're very questionable, a la multiple other players who I've mentioned in the past. It's just he's just got to be smarter with the ball. And you can look at both of these teams. -2 takeaway differential for the Browns, -1 takeaways for the Steelers. So this may be a low scoring game. They have the over under at 40. I might take the under on that one. This could potentially be a pretty rough game. With that being said, that is the conclusion to today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate you stopping in. Hopefully you can appreciate some of the things that I talked about. I'm so excited about the one football's back. I paid the extra amount of money this year so that I get Red Zone on the NFL Plus Premium or whatever it is. It's only $15 a month, which is like one of the few subscriptions that I'll pay for. But you get Red Zone, so I'll deal with that later.